Welcome to the Recruiting Stories Podcast, where we celebrate recruiting by exploring the stories of leaders and top performers by digging into their stories and understanding how recruiting has impacted their journey and their success. All right, welcome to the next edition of the Recruiting Stories Podcast. Guys, this time it's just me. I'm really excited about this episode because I kind of teased this a little bit on LinkedIn last week. In September, it will be 5 years since I started Cover 3 Consulting. So I've run my own business for 5 years. And because of that, I really just wanted to celebrate a little bit. And I wanted to have this podcast to talk about what I've learned in 5 years of running my own recruiting agency in the transportation industry, and some of the things that I've just learned about myself and about business. And so what I want to do is kind of give you 5 things that may be helpful for you if you're ever thinking about running a business. You might relate if you operate a small business, if you're in sales, if you're in recruiting. All of these things might help you. So we may talk about some other things involved, with just running a business as a whole. But here are the 5 things, and I'm just going to rattle them off, and then I'll dig back into each of them as we go through. So 5 things I've learned since I started Cover 3. One is if everybody doesn't win, nobody wins. 2 is tell the truth. 3 is you define your own success and not anybody else. 4 is, I think, the secret for a service company is finding incredibly great people, doing great things, and then treating them like gold, helping them get to where they're wanting to go. If you can find great people doing a great thing, help them get where they're going. If you do that, it's a big, big secret. And then number 5 is don't be all things to all people. Okay, so let's go back through those. Number 1 is if everybody doesn't win, nobody wins. So what do I mean by that? Easy in recruiting. You guys probably feel the same way in trucking, transportation, freight. If the shipper is not happy, if the carrier is not happy, I'm not happy as a broker or technology, etc. Same for me, right? If I place someone and immediately they're unhappy, they end up leaving in the first couple of months or weeks. Well, obviously, 1, I don't get paid, but 2, that client, all that work that we did to get to that point, it's a waste of everybody's time, and so much energy and time and money is spent if it's not a win-win-win. So for me, the focus is how can we consistently create win-win-wins for everybody involved. That's what we want to do with Cover 3 and with our business. I want people to say, man, this is an incredible place to work. I want clients to say, this person is an absolute rock star and they're doing a great job for us. And then that will be a win for us because not only will we get paid, but we have the satisfaction of knowing that we changed someone's life and changed someone's business for the better. Think about what the win-win-win is for you and your business. Because even if somebody wins, right? Let's just say, in my case, I get a client who is pretty happy with an employee, but the employee is not long-term happy. It's not a long-term win for me or for the client, even if it's good in the near term, right? So it needs to be long-term win-win-win for everybody. So that's number 1. 2 is tell the truth. I cannot tell you how. I say nobody gets lied to more on a daily basis, weekly basis than a recruiter. I get it. People are out there trying to get new opportunities, trying to make more money, trying to close deals. But man, the truth always finds you out. And, the best thing that you can do is look in the mirror every day, right? Really, if I have to look at myself in the mirror, let's just use fitness as an example. If I look in the mirror, I can look at myself and say, like, probably not a marathon guy, right? Like, just reality. If I want to go run a marathon, like, I'm just not built for that. Could I maybe do it? Maybe. But if I'm looking in the mirror, I got to be honest with myself that, like, I'm not competing for anything. And the more honest I am with me, I think about, what am I built for, right? What am I capable of and why? And we have to do the same thing with our resumes. We have to do the same thing with our businesses. Sometimes your business, you might think, hey, this A player, I want to go recruit this A player. Am I the type of business that will attract or retain an A player? The answer for most people is there's not a ton of A player organizations. You have to be an A player and an A player organization to recruit those people. And same with people, right? I get on calls with people, and I mean, I know the industry well enough in transportation that, sometimes people will just say things that I'm like, that's obviously not true. I know enough about the business or the people who run that business, or freight brokerage, sales numbers, name the thing. I've been in it long enough that hard to pull the wool over my eyes. Not to say that it's never happened, but there's no good reason to lie. Because if you do, let's say you run one past me or the organization, well, then you have to perform, right? So let's say I get that job and I get paid X amount of dollars. Well, now you gotta go perform. And is that what you want? Do you want to go into a role where you're clearly unqualified? You don't have the contacts, you don't have the skill set, you don't have the understanding, and now you're swimming. You just look like a fool doing that. There's no reason to lie. The best thing to say is, maybe I want to do this role. I have the desire. I think I have the skill set, but I've never done it. I haven't produced this much, and here's why. But I want to, and my want to will allow you, I think, in many ways, to get what you want, because that authenticity builds trust. Authenticity builds trust. So tell the truth in your interview processes, both as a company. Here's who we are, and as a candidate. If you're in sales, tell the truth as well. Just take a look in the mirror. That will always help you get further than pretending to be something you're not. So that's 2. 3 is you define success and not anyone else. So for me, kind of back to cover 3, like, I've kept it intentionally small. There's been seasons where I'm like, I can't keep up with the amount of business and opportunities that we have. And I've needed to hire. We've kind of selectively tried to, hire some recruiters, and we've kept it a pretty small business, and it's mostly me, right? It's mostly me doing most of the work. And so I've been tempted in many moments to be like, okay, well, I'm going to blow this thing up. I'm going to hire a bunch of people. And I had to step back and be like, what's my why, right? And why would I do more than I am currently doing? And and what I've done is just say, hey, let's go at the speed of what I define success for me to be. I don't want to get over. I've always run on this note, I think for me, the reason I think most businesses fail is they don't manage their cash flow well, right? And so I've set us up in such a way that I'm like, there's no way we will ever fail because of the way that we handle our financial operations. And then 2, I think that some people, they get so greedy, hungry for things that maybe they don't need for any reason. Like, hey, maybe you're a $50 million freight brokerage. That makes you unique as is, but you feel like you have to have whatever, $100 million a year production or valuation because you want to sell to private equity, or maybe you already have investors, and so to please them, you have to hit certain numbers. You set your business up the wrong way in the beginning. You're always chasing. You don't own the business. You're always chasing someone else's goals. And I think for so many people, if you start a business my advice is you define what success is, right? Is that, X dollars a year? Is that serving X amount of clients? Is that in my case, placing a certain amount of people? I've got an idea in my head of the number of people that I want to place as a goal with this business, just overall, both annually and kind of forever. And when I hit that goal, I'll be honest, I don't know beyond that, but man, I'm looking forward to as we've made progress towards that overall goal. And I'll speak to that sometime in the future. But yeah, I think you define your success. It's so easy, I think, in the world we live in to try to keep up with the Joneses and, look at my competition and see what they're doing and be like, oh gosh, I've got to do marketing this way, or I've got to hire this many people, or we've got to add this technology and service. And the truth is, like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. The reality is if you're hitting the goals of what you've defined for yourself, and you're serving your clients well, you're serving your candidates well, in my case, you can be happy with that, and you can learn to be content. And the Bible says godliness with contentment is great gain. And I think we should pay attention to that. So I think if you're starting a business, you're running your own business, even in your career, I would highly suggest defining what success looks like to you. I heard this on a Morgan Housel podcast recently, or book maybe. And the question that he posed was, if you weren't staring at those around you, would what you have or have achieved, what would be enough, basically? My wife asked me that question early on in our relationship. I talked about all my goals and I was very driven, and she's like, that's great. What is enough? What's enough for you? And I was like, I'll tell you when I get there. And as much as, now I look back at that and I feel like that's kind of a foolish answer. And that's something I think I still work on is what is enough and what's good. And right now, we've got some goals, I think, just for the company, and then how many people that we want to help. And I think I see it more as almost a ministry in that way, is how many people can we help? And if you could look at the mission in that way, you really start to see that you can use business as a mission to say, this is truly how we're going to change people's lives. I've got an opportunity to change people's lives. And yes, I happen to get certificates of appreciation, as I heard it once called, if you do a good job, i.e. dollars. So 3 is you define success, not anyone else. Don't get bogged down by what everybody else is doing. There's always going to be someone ahead or behind you. 4, the secret for a service company is finding great people doing great things and then treating them like gold. So I truly believe this, like, just if I get questioned a lot on, like, hey, I'm thinking about starting something, what do you think about my business? What would you suggest? And for me, if it's a service company, completely different if you're creating a product of some kind or doing something like that. I'm creating a service to serve someone else. Find people that you're aligned with from a value standpoint, doing something that you think is amazing, they're talented, and they're good people, and help them out. In my case, that's recruiting. In my case, I want to see people who are changing the world in the transportation industry. They're doing it in an incredible way with incredible culture, in a way that other people are not doing it. They're creating solutions and technology, and most importantly, have great people who don't compromise on their integrity, and don't compromise on how to do things well and honorably. Man, I love serving people like that and helping them, because then I can say, that's something that I aspire to as well. I deeply want to work with people like that, and if we share that in common, we share an immediate bond, and that helps to build a trust as well. And then, man, I just want to serve the heck out of those people. How can I help you get where you're going? How can I help you get where you're going? and figure out, who's next and what kind of people fit into your system and go. And that could be anything. I mean, that for freight as well. You have a freight, brokerage or forwarder or technology company. Who else aligns with who you are and your values? Man, that'd be my whole BD strategy, my whole business development strategy. If I was a young business development rep, is like, who do I find doing things honorably and well and with values similar to mine that I could look up to and also help get there? Just repeat that over and over. How can I help you get where you're going and do amazing things? 5, don't be all things to all people. This is one of the things I think for me that has been the hardest to do. The more success you have with a business, you start to realize you have more opportunities. Things come at you. People may want to use your network. They want to throw ideas at you, services to add on, different things. And man, it's people call it shiny object syndrome, right? The people who I know are the most successful were not successful at everything all at once. If you look at most people who are really successful, in my experience, I've talked to thousands of people and worked with some really successful people, is they got good at one thing first. Let's just use transportation as an example. I think about, some transportation companies, they started as, hey, we were just an LTL broker in the beginning. We were just an LTL provider. Maybe we were just a small trucking company. We started with 2 trucks and, we were, hauling grain, back and forth from Omaha to Dallas. I don't know. Right. And then we grew from there. And as that grew, you got really good at one thing. You were able to test and see, hey, where can we add different things in? And I mean, and I have to deal with that every single day, and that's where my focus, I can't tell you how many times people say, hey, do you recruit in XYZ industry? And so far it's been, no, not yet. Not that we will never do that, but right now our focus has been transportation, and that's allowed us to be experts in that space. I know that space better than 99.99% of people. Not to say that we don't have competition who are really good and talented people, but we know it more than most people. And I always use the fishing guide example, right? Like if somebody's fishing every single day, they know that water better. Your chances of catching a fish are so much better if you've got a guide who understands the water and they understand what the fish are eating and they understand what time of year it is and they understand the season and they understand the currents and they understand the weather patterns. If you get really good at that, you can build trust because you've done well in that area over and over and over again. So my suggestion, as always, is go deep before you go wide from a business standpoint. Now, all this to say, like, I'm not an expert, right? This is me. I've run a small business for 5 years. It's been amazing. You guys have made it wonderful for me and my family and my team as we've had people come and help out. And so I'm looking forward to the next 5 years, and I can't wait to help serve people and continue to grow, and see where God takes this business and help more and more people. So we want to help more people in the transportation industry. I always tell people one of the things I want to be that guide. So if we can help when it comes to, hey, what's going on in the marketplace? What are you seeing from a 10,000 foot view? What does compensation look like in certain roles across the board? What types of roles are being hired for that you're seeing across the board? Man, I'm happy to give you an honest assessment. If you're a candidate, I'd love to meet you and tell you, what I think about your resume, and offer some suggestions there. We've got a little resume builder 1-pager that we like to give out that helps tell a story of how, you can tell your story in a compelling way that will be meaningful and drive value for you to companies who are interested as well. So that's it. That's what I wanted to share. There's probably a whole heck of a lot more that I could tell you. As we grow, So if I think of some good things there, we'll come on and we'll do another one of these. But I wanted to give you 5 things for 5 years of growth with Cover 3 Consulting. And you guys have made it awesome. And we're thankful for all of our clients, all the candidates that we've placed over the years. And we look forward to more there. So we appreciate it. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Recruiting Stories podcast. If you haven't yet, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Check us out on LinkedIn. Adrian Chapman and Cover 3 Consulting is our company page. Also check out our website, www.cov3consulting.com. Again, thanks for joining us, and we just simply want to remind you that you can change the world by putting people in a position where they can do the most good, and you do that by recruiting. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time.